She stood frozen, clutching the glass so tightly her knuckles turned white. The words had just left his lips, sharp and cruel, echoing in her ears like a whip. Pour it over yourself, Nia. Do it now. His tone wasn't just commanding, it was mocking, a deliberate stab meant to slice through her dignity. And the smirk on the other woman's face twisted the knife deeper. For a moment, the world tilted. Nia's heart pounded, her breath caught, and her mind screamed for her to wake up from what surely had to be a nightmare. But it wasn't. It was real. The man she had once believed to be her protector, the one she thought would shield her from life's storms, was the very storm destroying her. Marcus sat back in his chair with casual arrogance, eyes gleaming with a sick satisfaction as though waiting for a circus act he had ordered. Vanessa, draped in silk and dripping with false confidence, leaned on the table and whispered loud enough for Nia to hear, maybe she's not brave enough to do it. A giggle followed, light and cruel, like the snapping of brittle glass. Nia's throat burned. She wanted to scream, to ask why. Why the man who once whispered love into her ears had turned into a stranger demanding her humiliation in front of another woman. But her voice failed her. Memories rushed in like a flood, Marcus holding her hand under the city lights on their first date, promising her the world. Marcus kneeling to propose, eyes shining with tears. Marcus, once gentle, brushing her cheek on their wedding night. Those moments felt like lies now, distant photographs fading in the sun. She stared at the glass. Red wine shimmered, rich and dark, as though daring her. Pour it and surrender, or refuse and risk his rage. She remembered the countless times she had given in before, swallowing insults, ignoring whispers of his late nights, smiling in public while dying in private. But this was different. This was the line. Her hand trembled. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Vanessa's grin widened. The weight of their expectation pressed down like a mountain. But instead of tipping the glass, Nia's fingers slowly loosened. She set it down, the gentle clink of crystal against wood cutting through the heavy silence. No, she said softly, almost a whisper. But it was enough. It was more powerful than a scream. Marcus's jaw clenched. What did you say? His voice rose, thunderous, already swelling with anger. I said no. Her eyes met his, unwavering for the first time in years. Something inside her cracked open, not weakness, but strength long buried under years of fear. Vanessa laughed, but it was shaky, unsure now. She's scared, Marcus. Look at her shaking. But Nia wasn't shaking anymore. Her body steadied as if rooted to the earth itself. Inside, her heart still raced, but her spirit stood taller than it had in years. Marcus slammed his fist against the table. You dare defy me in my own house? In front of her? His words spat venom. His pride was wounded more than his heart, and Nia could see it. He wasn't angry because she refused, he was angry because she did it while another woman watched. Tears stung her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She would not give them that victory. Her silence, her refusal, was already rattling the fragile control he had clung to for so long. Her mind drifted back to the promises he once made, that he would always honor her, that he would cherish her above all else, that he would never let anyone harm her. Yet here he was, the one causing the deepest wound. And Vanessa, sitting smugly, was only a symptom of a sickness that had been festering for years. For the first time, Nia saw the truth with terrifying clarity. Marcus didn't love her anymore, not the way she deserved. Maybe he never truly had. Maybe he only loved control. And Vanessa was not the problem. Vanessa was the mirror showing Nia how little she mattered in his world. Her refusal hung in the air, a crack in the armor of Marcus's power. The silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. Marcus barked again, louder this time, do it. But Nia didn't flinch. She stood straighter, her voice calm. No. Not this time. The rage that flashed across Marcus's face was volcanic, but beneath it, she saw something else, a flicker of uncertainty. For the first time, he realized she wasn't the obedient wife he thought he could parade and humiliate at will. Vanessa leaned back, crossing her arms, her smirk fading into a shadow of annoyance. She wanted drama, wanted Nia broken and weeping, but instead she got quiet defiance. And quiet defiance was more powerful than she expected. The room felt colder. The air heavier. Marcus shoved his chair back and stood, towering over Nia, but she didn't cower. Their eyes locked, and in that stare, years of pain, betrayal, and disappointment spoke louder than words ever could. "You'll regret this," he hissed, "perhaps." But in that moment, regret was lighter than shame. She turned away from him, her step steady though her chest trembled inside. Her back straight, her head high, she walked out of the dining room. Each step echoed like a declaration, "I am done being your victim." In the hallway, away from their eyes, her tears finally spilled. Her hands shook, her body shivered, but her spirit felt strangely free. It wasn't victory yet, but it was the beginning. Behind her, Marcus's angry shouts and Vanessa's mocking voice mingled, but Nia no longer listened. The world outside that room was waiting for her, and for the first time in years, she felt the courage to face it. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know if she would have the strength to keep fighting. But tonight, she had chosen dignity over submission. And that choice was the spark that would ignite everything to come, because sometimes, strength doesn't roar, it whispers. And her whisper of "no" would soon echo louder than Marcus or Vanessa could ever imagine. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the distant hum of silence. Her body trembled from the confrontation, but inside her chest a quiet fire burned. The echo of Marcus's command still lingered in her ears, but so did her own voice, calm and steady, saying no. That word had changed something. For years, she had bowed, she had bent, she had endured, but tonight she had chosen herself. And once that line was crossed, there was no going back. Morning light filtered through the curtains, washing the room in pale gold. Marcus had left early, slamming the door in anger, muttering curses under his breath. Vanessa was probably with him, still whispering poison. Nia sat on the edge of the bed, her mind clear in a way it hadn't been in years. She no longer saw herself as powerless. She saw herself as a woman who had survived, and now she was ready to reclaim her life. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she hadn't called in a long time. A warm, surprised voice answered. It was her childhood friend, someone Marcus had insisted she cut ties with. Tears filled her eyes as she heard the familiar tone of care, and with every word exchanged, Nia felt pieces of herself returning. Marcus had tried to isolate her, to silence her, but she realized she wasn't alone anymore. The days that followed became a quiet preparation. She moved carefully, like a chess player calculating every move. She gathered strength in silence, keeping her plans hidden. She began journaling every detail of Marcus's cruelty, documenting conversations, keeping receipts and messages. Each page she wrote was not only evidence but also a release of pain, transforming wounds into weapons. Marcus noticed her calmness but mistook it for surrender. He strutted around the house with Vanessa's perfume clinging to his clothes, convinced Nia was broken. Vanessa smirked whenever she visited, throwing sharp words laced with arrogance. But neither of them understood the truth. Silence can be dangerous when it belongs to someone who has had enough. A week later, Marcus organized a grand party. He wanted to flaunt his wealth, his influence, his false image of control. Vanessa would be there, shimmering by his side, and Nia was expected to play the dutiful wife, smiling while her heart bled. What Marcus didn't know was that Nia was no longer afraid of bleeding. She was ready to stand tall, even if it meant everything changed that night. The room buzzed with laughter, glasses clinking, music swelling. Nia moved gracefully among the guests, her smile calm, her eyes steady. Marcus boasted loudly, Vanessa draped over him like a prize. The crowd watched, some whispering behind hands, some pretending not to see the triangle playing out before them. And then it happened. Vanessa, emboldened by Marcus's attention, leaned close and sneered, "Why don't you show them how obedient you are, Nia? Pour the wine again. Entertain us." Marcus's laugh followed, sharp and cruel. He expected her to flinch, to cry, to be humiliated once more. But Nia's hand did not tremble when she lifted the glass. The room fell quiet. All eyes followed her, waiting for her collapse. Instead, she turned to Marcus, locked eyes with him, and in one fluid motion, she lifted the glass high and poured it straight over his tailored suit. Red spilled down his chest, staining him in front of everyone. Gasps filled the room, whispers erupting like wildfire. Marcus froze, his mask cracking, his face twisting with rage, but Nia stood tall. Her voice, calm and clear, cut through the noise. I will not be your stage. I will not be your puppet. Not now, not ever again. Her words sliced through the air sharper than any blade. Marcus tried to roar, tried to recover his dominance, but the room was no longer his. The guests turned away, their admiration dissolving into disgust. Vanessa shifted uncomfortably, realizing the spotlight was no longer flattering but damning. Without Nia's silent compliance, their cruel theater crumbled. Nia placed the empty glass on the table and walked out, each step a declaration of freedom. She didn't rush. She didn't cry. She didn't look back. Her dignity wrapped around her like armor, shielding her from the daggers of humiliation they had thrown for so long. The night air embraced her as she stepped outside. Her chest rose and fell, not with fear, but with relief. The weight of years lifted as she realized she didn't need Marcus, his money, his approval, or his games. She only needed herself. And for the first time in years, she felt whole. Marcus's empire began to crack in the days that followed. Without Nia silently standing by his side, people questioned the man behind the mask. Rumors spread of his cruelty, his mistress, his arrogance. Vanessa, once so bold, faded into the shadows when the attention turned sour. Without power to flaunt, Marcus was just another man exposed by his own cruelty. Nia, meanwhile, built something new. She reconnected with old friends, found work that gave her pride, and surrounded herself with people who cherished her laughter instead of silencing it. Her scars remained, but they were no longer chains. They were proof of survival. One evening, sitting by her window with the sun setting in a blaze of gold, she reflected on her journey. She thought of the night Marcus demanded she pour wine over herself, the night he tried to strip her of dignity. She remembered the trembling fear, the racing heart, the tears that threatened to fall. And she remembered the word that changed everything, no. That no was not just defiance. It was a beginning. It was the sound of chains breaking, of wings unfolding. It was the whisper that grew into a roar. Sometimes strength doesn't arrive with noise and fury. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in the calm decision to stop bowing, to stop breaking, to stop bleeding for someone who doesn't deserve your love. And when that strength finally arrives, it is unstoppable. Nia's story was not one of revenge but of freedom. She didn't destroy Marcus, he destroyed himself with his own arrogance. She didn't fight Vanessa, Vanessa's power evaporated when Nia refused to play the game. What she did was far greater, she reclaimed herself, and in the end, that was the sweetest victory of all, because sometimes the most stunning response is not rage, not tears, not pleading. It is silence broken by truth, and the courage to walk away with your head held high. Nia had given them nothing they asked for, and in doing so, she gave herself everything she deserved, and though the world may forget Marcus's party, though Vanessa's smirk may fade from memory, the image of a woman standing tall, pouring wine not on herself but on the man who demanded her shame, would never be forgotten, for it was more than an act. It was the moment a woman chose her crown of dignity over the chains of humiliation. And that choice stunned them all.